Yonesawara Hospital is a neat Japanese indie horror game that sees you exploring a creepy hospital that has been left abandoned for a decade by the time you arrive. It's up to you to uncover what happened there all those many years ago, and what's still haunting it now. You do this by finding files hidden around the place, but these files generally leave it up to you to piece together the proper timeline and place everything in order to really understand what's going on. So this week, let's break it all down and explain what really happened in Yonesawara Hospital. It all begins back in 1975. On September 28th, hospital director Yonesawara Sosuke gets a call from the Taiyo antique shop. They have something they think he might be interested in. He tells them he'll check it out the following week, and on October 5th, he makes his way to the shop. They have something called the Kon Gagaku. Kon means spirit or soul, and Gagaku is old Japanese court music. What they have is a music box that plays discs, but it was supposedly used in an ancient ritual as well. Sosuke is intrigued, but the box seems to be broken at the moment, and he needs to pay for repairs on a hospital wall, so he says he'll think about it. It seems Sosuke was unable to get the music box out of his mind, however, and on January 11th the following year, he calls the antique store and asks them to bring the Kon Gagaku to his clinic on January 27th. He makes space for it in his study, and shortly after, Nurse Honda realizes that this is why the wall reparations were postponed. The director has bought yet another music box. It arrives on schedule and fits nicely in his room. There are two boxes marked Descent and Ascent, and he decides to place those somewhere in the clinic. But when he lifts the Ascent box, something inside rattles. He hopes that it's not broken. Life continues as normal in the hospital, but several patients and staff have remarked that the Descent box in the waiting room keeps making strange sounds, almost like it's squeaking. Nurse Honda decides to bring it up with Sosuke right away, and the next day he decides to move it so he can have a closer look at it. He replaces it with the Ascent box, but the nurses aren't happy. While examining the Descent box to figure out what's wrong with it, Sosuke discovers a trick lock inside. Opening it, he finds some wooden cards, a key-like object, and a book inside. The book seems to be instructions on how to do the ritual associated with the Kon Gagaku, but it's old and decaying, and near impossible to read now. But that's not all. The box is also full of mold, and Sosuke breathes in a black smoke that escapes from it before he can stop himself. This smoke gives him a headache, so he goes home early. The next day, Nurse Honda notices that Sosuke seems to be acting strange, like he's not really there when people talk to him. They're unaware that he opened the Descent box the day before and inhaled a mysterious black smoke. Several weeks pass, and by May 2nd, Sosuke still isn't feeling well. He's also having trouble sleeping and keeps having dreams each night. Dreams of his dead wife and son. He has, however, deciphered some of the words from the ancient book. This ritual seems to require teeth, and after carrying out a seance, a being called Kishimi-sama will be summoned. His headache has just been getting worse, however. He's not well. On May 9th, Sosuke decides to try the key-like object on a hole he has found in the Kon Gagaku. It opens, and inside he finds a strange doll and another ancient document he can't really read that's related to the doll. Sosuke decides to send the documents to a professor to get help reading them. Several months pass, and then on June 27th, he finally receives a reply as to what the document says. It seems to be talking about a Hyoshintai. That's the doll, a possessive goddess. Fresh human body parts must be attached to the doll for the ritual to take place. Arms, legs, torso, head, and finally, the heart of a healthy man. But that's about all they can make out. By this point, Sosuke has figured out one thing. If he successfully carries out the ritual with this Hyoshintai, then he should be able to see his family again. That's why he keeps dreaming about them. He knows the ritual is dangerous, especially with incomplete information, but he has to try it. He must see his family again. He ponders what music will come out of the Kongagaku music box when the ritual is completed. On October 7th of that same year, Sosuke takes the first terrifying step. A young man is brought in from a nearby lumberyard. It's an emergency. Seems the little finger on his left hand has been cut off from the second joint. They try to reattach it, but it doesn't work. But instead of throwing the digit away, Sosuke, for some reason, decides to sew it onto the Hyoshintai. And what do you know? The finger moves. He wasn't actually expecting it to do anything, but it seems all of this is very real. But the finger only lasts a few days before it decays and dies. The ritual mentioned fresh human bodies, so it seems this finger that was already dying was no good. But how can he get some fresh body parts that aren't already dying by the time he gets his hands on them? In December that year, an opportunity finally presents itself. Iwabuchi Kentaro, a patient at the hospital with diabetes, loses his lower right leg. This is exactly what Sosuke needed. He secretly takes the leg away to store it. But Sosuke also realizes that to keep body parts fresh, he's going to need a freezer. He remembers that the hospital has an old warehouse in the basement and decides to install a large freezer there, hidden away from prying eyes. The freezer is installed the following year on February 11th, 1977. Nobody notices. The next month, Sosuke also has a hidden door to the basement installed, just in case. With Iwabuchi's leg in the freezer, it's all starting to come together. He can take his time now. After all, Sosuke has waited this long, there's no point in rushing now and messing up. Several months pass, and Sosuke continues to dream of his family. But also, he's finding it difficult to procure fresh human body parts. Naturally. He can't just cut people's limbs off willy-nilly for his secret ritual. He's in a hospital, yes, but he still needs to wait for opportunities to naturally present themselves. And unfortunately for Sosuke, much of the year passes without anything happening. It's not until November 3rd, 1977, that he finally procures his next body part. Patient Osaki Yuya loses his lower left leg due to acute arterial occlusion. It's also placed in the freezer. But while this has been going on, one of the nurses, Ishihara, has noticed Sosuke acting strange around the basement. She mentions that she'd like to talk to him during the upcoming end-of-year holidays. Sosuke panics and realizes he needs to deal with her. He can't have her ruining his plan, not now that he's come this far. On December 28th, Nurse Mizugami decides to leave early for the end-of-year holidays. She asks Nurse Ishihara to deal with things in her stead, and she'll be back on January 4th next year. But the very next day, Nurse Ishihara goes missing. Sosuke decided to kill two birds with one stone, and kills her, putting her in his freezer. Now she can't ruin his plans, and now he has some new body parts. In fact, at this point, the only thing he's now missing is a young male heart. Then he'll have all he needs to summon Kishimi-sama. Naturally, Nurse Ishihara's friends and family notice that she has gone missing, and on January 4th, 1978, the police question Sosuke about her disappearance. They also search the hospital, but they're unable to find anything. Some of the nurses suspect that she ran away with a boyfriend or something, and the police seem to agree with that idea. Solskjaer is in the clear, for now. On April 16th, Solskjaer makes moves for this final step. He moves patient Miyamoto Naoki to the isolation ward, claiming he has an infectious disease. There he remains until the summer, and on July 18th, he passes away. Solskjaer removes his heart. He now has everything he needs, and it's all kept in the freezer until the ritual can be performed. On August 16th, Solskjaer decides it's finally time to start testing what he has learnt. He attaches the body parts to the Hyoshintai, but it seems they shouldn't actually be attached in the shape of a normal human. For example, Osaki's lower left leg moves best when attached to the top of the doll. He continues testing configurations to figure out what works best. By September, however, Solskjaer still hasn't figured out the ascent box. The ancient text says it needs the teeth of a dead person. But does that mean the teeth of his family? The people he wants to see? From what he can ascertain, this box is used after the ritual, so Solskjaer decides it can't be that important. He doesn't care what happens one way or another. He just wants to see his family. Finally, on September 16th, Solskjaer decides it's time. He tells nurses Honda and Sato that he'll be going away on holidays, but in reality, he'll be in the basement, carrying out the ritual. And he tries, but it seems he messed up. Instead, he creates a monster that kills him. He didn't perform the ritual properly, and he pays for it with his life. Perhaps it's something to do with that ascent box and the teeth that he ignored. Nurse Honda notes a few days later that Solskjaer still hasn't shown up for work. A few more days pass, and he's still missing, even though his car is in the garage. Nobody has any idea of where he might have gone. By September 27th, police are officially investigating his whereabouts, and the clinic is in the process of moving patients to other hospitals. They're also planning to close the clinic. It can't function without its director. They have no idea what to do. Our unnamed protagonist is one of the people who investigated the case at the time. They searched the hospital, the nearby Kuratsuru village, and even the surrounding mountains, but found nothing. Everyone is confused by his sudden disappearance because there was no sign of any trouble, and he was well liked and well trusted by the community. But with nothing to go on, the case soon goes cold. It's filed away and forgotten by most everyone involved. 10 years later, our protagonist receives a phone call from Miyamoto Naoki's mother, the boy whose heart was used for the Hyoshintai. He remembers interviewing her at the time because they had to check whether she might have been involved in Solskjaer's disappearance, perhaps as revenge for her son's death at the hospital, but they found no evidence that that was the case. At any rate, while cleaning up her son's things, it seems Naoki's mother found a note he wrote while in the hospital. In it, he reveals that the director is going to kill him with drugs. This is brand new information that nobody even suspected at the time, so his mother would like our protagonist to head back to the hospital and look around once again. Besides, for years now, people have claimed that the abandoned building is haunted. Something is going on there, for better or worse, and he should check it out. And so he does. Throughout the game, you uncover files revealing all of that history at the clinic and the ritual that Solskjaer tried to perform. But he failed. He didn't perform it correctly, and the Hyoshintai, that mass of body parts attached to the sacred doll, has been roaming the halls of the hospital for the last 10 years. But our protagonist is smart enough to piece it all together and realize what was missing. He finds Solskjaer, now a mummified body in the basement, near the Kongagaku. There's also another mummified body that looks scarily like the monster that's roaming the hospital halls. Our protagonist wonders if they are the same thing, but then he takes Sosuke's teeth to put in the ascent box. It opens, and he gets a wooden tag and an ancient text about the box. He can't read it, but plans to have someone look at it later. Returning to the Kongagaku in the basement, he puts the wooden tag in, the missing piece, and then winds the crank. The kanji on the side of the music box has now changed from descent to ascent. The Hyoshintai, or rather, Kishimi-sama, as it's likely the mummified corpse made up of numerous body parts from various people then gave the kami-sama a physical body to inhabit, appears, but it doesn't kill our protagonist. He performed the ritual correctly. He is free to go. Dawn is breaking as he leaves the hospital. He alerts the police as to what he has found. It's time for the truth to come to light. He also gets the ancient text translated. According to the text, Kongagaku is a magic tool that was used hundreds of years ago. During a power struggle for supremacy, one side made a sacrifice to the demon gods in order to kill their opponents. They thought that Okishimi-sama, this demonic god who descended into the Hyoshintai, would drag someone to hell when their name was written on the wooden tag. Yet the priest who conducted the ritual feared the power of Okishimi-sama and worried that they might run rampant. So they sealed the secrets away inside the Kongagaku music box. Time passed, people forgot about the ritual, and the music box somehow ended up on the market, landing at the antique store. But Sosuke misunderstood the ritual, and they found the names of his family members written on the wooden tags inside the box. But because Sosuke's family members were already dead, Okishimi-sama had no souls to take. As such, our protagonist believes that it took Sosuke instead. And with that, the incident at the hospital that started over a decade ago has finally been solved and the truth revealed. Whether people choose to believe it or not is up to them though. Sosuke just wanted to see his family again. And in a way, he got that wish. But not in the manner he was expecting. But what did you guys think about this one? Have you played the game yourself? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.